Hey FilmTube, I lied. I'm not improving before the next video because I need to take care of this now before getting to the next one, or to the third one I should say. And so this one is going to be my actual mission statement about this channel, as well as my library haul. And that kind of ties into each other because I am someone who's interested in becoming a filmmaker, as well as being an amateur film historian. I'm interested in devouring as much information as I can about cinema, about cinema's history, and for that reason, this channel is going to serve not as just a collector's channel. I'm not just going to focus on buying movies and reviewing them and letting you know what's great about them. And this is bothering me, sorry. Especially because I can't do it as well as other people. I don't have a sort of discerning eye for small details that other people have in terms of being able to compare the transfers and the restoration and the sound. I don't have good hearing, unfortunately, so I can't tell you, oh, this movie sounds way better than this other one, with, or not, maybe not way better, but just better in terms of the small details that other people seem to have. Also, because there's resources out there already for you to do that. There's Blu-ray.com, which is great. People review that one is, it's an aggregate of other people's reviews. So, not just one person is saying what, why the transfer on one film is better than the other or whatnot. Then there's also DVD Beaver, which is, I have to get back to you on exactly who runs it. I know there's one guy, Gary Tooze, I think, who is the main, from what I've seen them names, the main owner of the site and main reviewer. But I've seen other names of other people who have also come in and given their own thoughts on the quality of the films in terms of the actual presentation, not the movie themselves. They don't review the movies. They tell you, what they think of this specific either DVD or Blu-ray or 4K, whatever, that specific disc's strengths and weaknesses in terms of, what they think the director, what maybe the director has already said, what their intent was. And so sometimes you get certain movies that are a little too green or blue or whatever color, or maybe just the way the color is usually, or something like that, or the film grain may not look exactly as the director intended. And so that's why I prefer DVD Beaver, although I wish that they would change their background, because looking at all that black and then white writing and then moving away from the monitor kind of gives me some kind of screen blindness temporarily. I don't know what it's called. I don't go blind, but it just kind of hurts my eyes. And so I'm interested in being a filmmaker. That's why I collect these movies as well, so that I can look at their contents, at their special features, at their booklets, at their essays, and glean more information. I'm not someone that can, just study a movie and then I don't have the cinematic mind where I just understand it all or something like that. Like, I need help. I not always, and I build on what I learn. I sometimes will learn something that sparks a thought, and then eventually, as I rewatch the film, I build on it and I add to it for myself. But I'm definitely someone who likes to step on the shoulders of giants. So that's why physical media is so important to me. And so I want to own these movies. I want to have them accessible so that I can still go back to them very easily and, pause, fast forward, rewind, look at things over and over again. And so the bad thing about this goal is that collecting movies can be expensive. It really can, which is why it's important to utilize the free resources that are legal, that don't take money out of the pockets of, people don't care if it's taking money out of corporations, but to be honest, it's also taking money out of the filmmakers. It's taking money out of the crews, out of the people who work for the corporations, who when they don't get paid as much as they could or as they should. That's less money that they can have, especially, and somebody may look at a multimillionaire filmmaker or actor and not feel any really sympathy for that. But sometimes it's not always them who we really need to pay. It's the more independent filmmakers, or the other ones that are never prominent, that never became millionaires or whatever, but that have been consistently working for years, and they rely on residuals and that sort of other income. This has gone to a little tangent, but essentially, the library is a great, amazing resource. The ones that have films are great resources for that reason. They buy movies, and after a couple of viewings, especially as they wear, they buy them again, especially if people want to keep watching the same movies, especially movies that are being checked out. And so that's money that is going into their pockets, into the pockets of the filmmakers. So that's why I wanted to do this library haul. Well, I should continue on with my mission statement, shouldn't I? So essentially what this channel is going to be about is collecting movies, studying them, and studying not just the movies themselves, but also books about the movies and articles about the movies. I want to share, interesting articles from publications that I follow, that I read from, Film Comment, Sight and Sound, Cinematography. What's that other one? Cinematographer and Beyond, something like that. I'll put some of the channels or publications that I like to read down below in the description. But also books. I have a lot of books about films. Some of them about certain film movements or following a certain director. Some of them just about one movie or one writer's, say, screenplays. Like a Woody Allen 4 screenplay book, and I'll put a video on that coming up here. I know I'll share all the books that I have and which ones that I'm going through and stuff like that. And so I'll put videos and reviews about books as well online. So I'll read a book, I'll give you my thoughts on what it is that I like about it, what it is that I learned from it, and then upload it and see where we go. And then the other stuff is that I'm going to do as I go is making actual films, short films, writing, directing, because I'm interested in being a writer and a director. Probably more of a director, to be honest, although who knows, maybe one day with enough practice my writing will be good enough or even better than my directing, and so I'll maybe transition to that more. But I'm more primarily interested in being a director, but I do have a lot of ideas, especially to me, emotionally resonant ideas for stories that I want to tell. So I will be cataloging my journey, and hopefully as I learn, cataloging it in a way that is useful to other filmmakers, up and coming filmmakers, people who are looking for specific resources on YouTube that, isn't teaching them, because you can watch all the technical detailed videos about like the specific processes to make movies. It's all out there. What people don't really focus on is the reasons why. Why are you shooting something this way? Why is this director, this DOP, this writer, this actor making a specific choice? And so that's what I want to do, is I want to make my short films and eventually a feature film as whenever that's possible, but make that and then document it and give my thoughts on why I did a specific reason, or why I did a specific reason, why I had a specific reason for shooting something or writing something a certain way, and then get feedback on that. Does it work? Does it do what it was meant to do? If it doesn't, I learn from that and I get feedback from that. Hopefully, you never know, I may only get like 5 views of this channel, but the library is an amazing resource, especially in California. We are tremendously blessed and spoiled in terms of what movies we have access to for free. There's a few 4K titles that you can see, but not many. It's mostly Blu-rays and a lot of DVDs, but that's fine. You don't really need all that much more, especially if you're watching movies that you want to study but you can't afford, or isn't really all that in print. I watched through the library system, Chunking Express for the first time a couple months ago through a Criterion DVD. Unfortunately, they didn't have the Blu-ray, but they had a DVD, and I was able to watch it, and I watched it twice. It was amazing. Not as great to me as In the Mood for Love, which is my favorite Wong Kar-wai movie and my third favorite movie of all time. But Chungking Express was really, really good, and it's something that I'm very excited to see one day again in Blu-ray. Hopefully Criterion is doing that Wong Kar-wai box set. But movies like that you normally wouldn't get. I watched Caravaggio through the library system before I got the box set, and so here are movies that I got recently, and I'll talk a little bit about them. This one is a film by Jacques Rivette, which is a French new wave filmmaker who made a lot of long movies. He was known for making very long movies, but this is Noirite. I don't know, somebody can probably correct me on that, but this one is actually made by Arrow Academy, which is again a box set that I've been eyeing because Jacques Rivette is a prominent filmmaker, especially in the French New Wave, and so I've been thinking, should I get the box set? It's something that I would snap up if it was cheap, but in a lot of ways the box set that has Out One, that one is still in print with just Out One, but there's another box set that has Out One and then a couple more movies, which I think this one is a part of, and that's the box set that I'm kind of interested in. When I get box sets, I want them all. I want the biggest box set. And so sometimes a couple of these companies, they'll come up with smaller ones which focus on just one movie or not. And I don't know. I think, to me, if you buy, what's the phrase? Buy nice or buy twice. If I get the smaller one just to have it, and then I later get the bigger one, the one that has more films or more special features or whatever that the other one doesn't, then I just paid more for that movie than I would have initially. So I've seen Duel, which is the companion piece to this movie, again through the library, and Duel was interesting. It was a little bit slow in some ways, but it was a science fiction movie that didn't require a lot of production value, which is a good lesson to learn, that you can make science fiction or fantasy stuff that doesn't require you to break the bank, that you can do with certain small tricks, cinematic tricks that can still be good. And so this one I haven't seen, but it's on my list. It's going to be one of the upcoming ones this week. And the other one that I got from them is The Seventh Voyage of Sinbad, which I have been eyeing Indicator's box, which is now out of print. Unfortunately, you won't get cheaper than like $180 unless you're lucky. And maybe I can have the patience and I'll do that route and just keep an eye out. But I may just go $180 and get the 3 movies, because I like this one. This one, not as good as Jason and the Argonauts, but it was an adventure, and it was a fun adventure. It has cheesiness in the acting, with some of the performances. It's got that classical kind of acting theatricalness to it, and of course with the stop motion monsters, but it's still fun. I recommend it if you don't mind the cheese. Check it out someday. You don't need to get the Indicator set, but you may like the movie enough to just have it or just to watch it. So this one, I got My Name is Earl Season 4 on Blu-ray, and I don't really intend to watch it, but I wanted to see how good it looked, because maybe one day I like the show and I will get maybe the whole set on Blu-ray. So I just got it mostly just to see the detail in it and to see how good it looked. Because to be honest, Season 4 was not that great to me. I think if I remember correctly, Season 3 was the one where it kind of started to get not bad, but just not as good as the first 2 seasons. And then Season 4, the final season, was better than the third, if I remember correctly. So the show is due for a rewatch, but I'll get it someday. The other movie that I got is The Sunshine State, written and directed by John Sayles, who's a prominent independent filmmaker. And John Sayles, the reason why I decided to check him out is because he's been championed a couple of times, most prominently by FilmTube's own Solitary Ronin. I think I even sent him a message once, but he had a film, or he had a video about his top 10 John Sayles, and he considers John Sayles to be probably the greatest writer, he thinks, screenwriter, and one of the greatest directors, one of his favorites. And so I was interested in watching it, and to be honest, I was bored by a lot of it, and I think the reason being is that this movie was very character based. It did not really have a straightforward plot. So the loose plot of this movie is that this is about a Florida town that is going through some changes, primarily being prospected by a big corporation to be turned into some sort of resort or whatever. And this is the battle between the residents of this town that want to keep their town the way it is, revert to it maybe to how they had it growing up. And so it's individual stories, some of them being about personal conflicts. So Angela Bassett being about a woman who comes back to a town she grew up in to face certain demons, and she has one connection to the overall plot, which is about the prospectors. But others characters of these, Edie Falco has more integrated plot with the prospectors, being that she has a short-lived love affair with one of them. And so you're following multiple characters, some of them battling for this town, some of them having their own issues that they're just facing at the time of this story. And it's very character based, but I didn't really connect with the characters really. There was, I think towards the end, Angela Bassett's character had a couple moments that I found moving, and I think it's also because of the independent nature of the movie. Some of the performances I felt were a little amateurish. Not, there was faults with them that I just didn't care for, but there's something about it that calls to me to revisit it someday, because I'll be able to appreciate it more. Especially, I think I intend to read the screenplay for this, because John Sayles being considered one of our greatest writers, one of our greatest American writers of the last several decades, especially underrated writers. I want to study him and find out what it is that he does, what he does well, why. Solitary Ronan describes his characters as being characters that you want to follow after the movie ends. I want to know that, even if this wasn't the greatest start for it. I would have started with Matewan, but unfortunately I couldn't shell out the money for that one at the moment, and also the library has a whole bunch of holes on it. So that one will probably be my next one. But one thing I will say about this is that John Sayles' documentary, because of, again, Solitary Ronan, I decided to check out the documentary, the commentary, even if I didn't really care for the film all that much. And he was right. John Sayles does talk about quite a bit, not a lot. He does diverge from it, but he does talk a lot about like how he did certain things or why he made certain film decisions, which is very greatly appreciated, I think, for somebody who's interested in making movies when you watch those kinds of documentaries, because you want to, you get help from the director themselves or from the writers themselves saying why they made certain choices, so you can better understand them, but also you can learn from them. He talks about, in one of the moments, he talks about how he handled stitching together a scene where Edie Falco has her first really interaction with her lover, where her side of the conversation, because it was being done kind of circling them, and so the side that is facing her motel was filmed in one town, and then 20 miles over, the side that her lover is talking and facing, I think like a gas station or something like that was filmed in another town 20 miles away. So he talked about like how he stitched that together so it looked like it was done in the same place. And so there's a couple other moments like that where he talks about he talks about the 180-degree rule, and if you want to flip it and film from the other side, you kind of have to have a reason to do it, because if you just flip it, it can be jarring. And if that's what you want as a director, then go for it. But one trick to get to do that is that you have another character or something, an object, come in that you can focus on from the other side, and there's a reason why you focus in on it, and then you stay on that side. And so in that case, it was Edie Falco having the waitress come over and whisper in her ear that the guy she was talking to wasn't the guy she was referring to when she said that somebody was checking her out. And so, you know, the conversation was this side. So when the waitress comes in back here, the camera flips to this so that she can whisper in her ear, and then it stays that way. And so that's interesting. I didn't get to finish all of that because this is due today. This was due yesterday, so I'm late and I have to pay $1. But I'm gonna buy this and I'm going to watch the entire commentary, and maybe I'll come away with a better appreciation of the movie. This is Criterion's Fishing with John, and this is an odd one because this is a short, like, mini-series, but also, and it's not a movie, and it doesn't have that great production value. It was done with, I think, a lot of like video camera, like digital, and this is an odd movie because it's not like some kind of big influential movie. This appears to be a passion project that maybe Criterion at the time was passionate about. They loved this miniseries, and they just decided to release it on their own because it wasn't a great release at the time, possibly. But it essentially, it is a I'm blanking on his name. I think it's John Lurie, and I don't want to peel the sticker. Yeah, John Lurie, who was in Jim Jarmusch's Down by Law, which is another Criterion release. Unfortunately, I didn't care for that movie as well. But John Lurie decided to make a short, like, kind of not documentary-ish, but like comedy documentary about going fishing. But he films it with filmmaking buddies or just friends, other filmmakers. So Dennis Hopper's in here, Jim Jarmusch is in the first episode, and I watched a bit of the first episode and it was freaking hilarious. There's a narrator who, you know, there's a juxtaposition between what you're seeing on the camera and then what the narrator does and says, and so he, like, sometimes that juxtaposition is very quirky. You know, the narrator's being straightforward, but what you're seeing on camera is kind of not zany, but like not jiving with it, and it's, for whatever reason, it's just hilarious, as well as the character interacts with Jim Jarmusch is like, what the hell am I doing here? But just the way he delivers it while he's on the boat is just absolutely hilarious. And so I'm very excited to continue and watch the whole thing. The next one is Michelangelo Antonioni's Story of a Love Affair, and this will be my first Antonioni film I watched. I do have The Passenger, but then I read an article on BFI, which they have several articles that I highly recommend about how to get into specific, where to start with a specific filmmaker. And so their recommendation for Antonioni was to start with this movie. And so I saw it on the library system and decided to check it out. So unfortunately, the DVD's kind of scratched up and just kind of got loose in there. Yeah, so I may or may not be able to watch it. We'll see. But if not, I'll just start with The Passenger. Then this is The Confession by Costa Gavras, another Criterion DVD. I don't know why I check this out. Sometimes I read something about a movie that, you know, makes me really interested in it, and then I'll go to the library and reserve it. So I can't remember why it is. It's supposed to be very good anyway. It's supposed to be intense. So it's about political kidnapping. So I'll watch it and let you all know what I think. Next one, Hard Boiled. Unfortunately, I couldn't get the Criterion DVD for this. But I looked at DVDbeaver.com. They recommended this copy as being the best at the time copy of the movie, where you can see it. You know, it has a decent quality to it, decent. You know, so I think one of the other DVDs didn't have a great. It had like a terrible soundtrack, but subtitles to them or whatever. So this one's supposed to be a decent, you know, image on it. So I will give it a try because I have not seen this movie and it's supposed to be very action-packed. The last one, Your Name. This is an animated movie about two teenage kids who, through the fantastical qualities of a comet, trade bodies, but they don't trade bodies permanently or throughout whatever. It's kind of, they alternate. So they trade bodies for like a day or the rest of the day, or sometimes even, you know, just a couple hours, and then they go back. And then once they discover that this isn't a dream, that this is really happening, and they're trading bodies with another human being who is now inhabiting their own body, they try to work together to not mess up each other's lives. And then through it, fall in love. So this was really good. I am going to buy this one. I'm probably getting like some kind of limited edition 4K Blu-ray version of it because the quality of this movie is astounding. This is, I think, to this day, the most beautiful animated movie I've ever seen. And the only way I can describe pretty much some of the animation is that it was almost photorealistic. It was just absolutely beautiful. You know, just frames that you can stop, print out, and put it on your wall. It was just that gorgeous. And it was an interesting movie because not only is it about, you know, it's about essentially two characters learning about each other, but also gender differences and you know, how they had to adjust and learn, like how they're treated. A little bit of that, not too much. And then it's also about, you know, tradition versus progression or progressiveness, and living in a quiet, you know, town versus living in Tokyo. And the beauty of I think this director is somebody who's very much into nature and into you know, quiet town settings, and the beauty of that, because there was a lot of shots of that kind of stuff, of, you know, beautiful vistas of nature, or, you know, the quietness of a town that doesn't have loud noises, loud bustling, and the beauty of it. And so this is kind of like a world that you want to almost live in. I definitely am looking forward to watching this again and sharing it with somebody. I would very much like to watch this with somebody and get their reaction, because I thought it was a tremendously beautiful movie. So that was it. Again, I hope that your library system has a lot of the same kind of catalog, because this is a great amount of movies that I would have had to wait for a long time if I wanted to buy them to watch. And now I got to watch them all for free, except for the ones that I unfortunately was late on, so I got to pay a fee. But you know, what can I say? If you have, especially if you live in California, utilize your library system, because these movies, as some of them you can see, they're from the Link library system. This is from Berkeley. They traveled all the way from Berkeley down to SoCal, where I am in San Diego County. So I get to watch movies from all over the state, and that's just amazing, especially for free. I could, even if I did not want to own any movies, if I wanted to sell all of this but still want to watch amazing movies, I could for free. Some of them, you know, the library system doesn't have everything, but they have a lot of, especially Criterions. And I'm going to actually upload a video sometime once I learn the mechanics of capturing, you know, computer footage, because I want to show how I get movies, and not just movies, for film books through the library system, especially the Link Plus system, which is amazing because you get to watch movies that, you know, the library, the whole California library system has hundreds of just Criterions, Blu-ray Criterion movies, and thousands of DVD Criterion movies. And they also have Arrow and Kino Lorber, and not just that, but you know, you just saw Funimation Blu-ray. So if you live here, or if you live in a state or country that has that sort of catalog, use it. It is just absolutely amazing. So I will leave it at that. This is another really long video. So sorry for you guys. I should probably put this in the beginning, but I don't know, play me at double speed or something like that if you want to get through it, because that's a lot. But again, it's showing the beauty and the greatness of the library system, and getting to watch movies that you normally couldn't maybe watch, or had to wait for a long time to watch. So signing off, I hope you're all watching really good movies. Thank you, FilmTube.